Hi, I'm Tim Gaspar from Gaspar Insurance, and this is why you have fire insurance, specifically homeowners insurance. So this was a fire that happened about 2 weeks ago in West Hills, California. This was not the wildfires that took place at the end of 2018. This was a fire that started in the kitchen. The exact cause still hasn't been determined. But essentially what happened is the family was out shopping at the local mall and actually got an alert on their cell phone that the smoke alarm had picked up smoke. And that smoke alarm actually alerted their cell phone, where they were able to rush home within about 10 minutes and get their dogs out of the house at the last possible second and actually save the dogs' lives. So really, really important to have that sort of app on your cell phone. So what I want to talk about a little bit today is exactly how a claim like this is covered and exactly what happens after a fire loss like this and how your insurance kicks in. Now, a homeowner's insurance policy for your primary residence covers a lot of different things. So it covers things like fire, which is what we have here, smoke damage, which we're going to get into in a moment, and then other items like water damage, vandalism, wind damage, liability suits. There's all sorts of things that are covered in your homeowner's insurance, but the biggest one that you're insuring for, where most of your premium goes, is actually going to be fire damage like this. So in a case like this, we can only see the backyard here, but this home is a total loss. Rebuilding this structure alone is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000 to $800,000. This is about a 2,500 square foot house. Now, this particular policy has an extended replacement cost endorsement. What that means is that if the customer has $800,000 in coverage, the insurance company is going to pay up to 50% more than that just to make sure that the home can be rebuilt. And that's a really, really important endorsement to have in your policy. The reason is, in a case like this, where the wildfires that struck California were only about 8 months ago, the cost of construction has gone up sharply. So the cost of reconstructing this house is going to be a lot more today than it even would have been exactly 1 year ago. So the dwelling part of the policy is going to rebuild the house completely, including demolishing what we have right here. So that's the first part. The second part is, when the fire happened, it was on a weekend. And so the family needed somewhere to stay for themselves, but also for their 2 dogs. So to start with, they started with a hotel that accepted pets, but you can't keep a family of 5 in a hotel very long. So then they moved to an Airbnb, which was also covered by the policy, for about 3 days. And then they were able to work with the insurance company to secure a long-term lease for a larger home nearby in the neighborhood, which, especially after wildfires, was pretty pricey. And so that's another reason why when you look at your policy, when you see loss of use coverage, which pays for Airbnbs, hotels, and rental homes, you want to make sure that's a lot of coverage, because for a home like this, you can easily spend $7,000 or $8,000 a month on a rental home. That might seem like a lot, but when you need to find something quickly and you need to find it in the same neighborhood where you already live, beggars can't be choosers, as they say. So you're going to have to go with whatever you find, even if it's a pretty high price point. So again, you want to make sure that loss of use in your policy is really a decent amount of coverage. And also, if you have pets, that's something you have to take into consideration. You're going to have to find a property that allows pets. So in this case, the policy covers the full replacement cost of the home and the full cost of the Airbnb, the hotel, and the rental home. But that's only about half of the total claim. This house, like anybody's house, was full of stuff: TVs and furniture and clothing and all the things that any family would have as part of their day-to-day living. Now, the actual fire only consumed about 30% of the house, which we're going to show you some video of shortly. The rest of the home is actually totally intact and it looks fine. The problem is smoke, and smoke is extremely destructive. Smoke absolutely ruins anything that it comes in contact with. So when the insurance company took a look at this home, they actually already agreed the personal property within the home is a total loss. So what that means is that literally every single piece of personal property within the home is essentially not salvageable. The insured, the customer, is welcome to keep it, but essentially it has no value. And so the insurance company is going to pay the entire policy limit, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars, for personal property to buy new clothes, new furniture, new electronics, new silverware for their kitchen, literally everything that the family owned, because everything that was there in the house behind us was, again, completely damaged by the smoke from the fire. Now, the big challenge with something like that is remembering what you had. And so if a fire completely consumes your personal property, it's kind of hard to remember exactly what all personal property you had in a room if that room doesn't exist anymore. And so it's a really good idea now, before there's a claim, just go through your house with a smartphone and take a video of all your personal property and store that in your cloud. Because you never know when you're going to need it. It could be a fire like this that consumes your home, or maybe it's a burglary where you know your house got burglarized, but you're not sure if anything was actually taken, or maybe what was taken. It's a really good idea to have those list of items because the insurance company is going to request a list. They're not going to need receipts for every item. A lot of folks have a tendency to think that, and that's not generally the case. But you have to have something to start with to at least list the items that you lost. So again, in this claim, you have the home, you have the loss of use, you have the personal property. We're well over $1 million in total payout between just those 3 items alone. And then in addition to that, you have different expenses that come up, like having to eat at restaurants because there's not a kitchen anymore, or other extra expenses that you didn't necessarily anticipate before the fire actually occurred. So on a claim like this, your deductible's only paid one time. In this case, the deductible's probably $1,000, and that's all the customer's going to pay, and the rest of it is going to be covered completely. So I think this is a great example, and it illustrates how important homeowners insurance really is, because the reality is when most folks buy a home or secure home insurance, nobody ever expects to actually be in this situation. But it could occur to anybody. With our agency, we see total losses like this at least a couple of times a year, whether it be from wildfires or kitchen fires or whatever it is. So making sure you have a really, really good policy is incredibly important. So I'm now in the living room of the home, which was not actually consumed by flames. But this living room is a total loss for a few different reasons. Number one, in regards to the smoke damage, there's smoke covering absolutely every surface within the house. If you run your finger along the wall or the mantle or whatever it is, it's going to be covered in soot. So that's how all the personal property and all the other parts of the structure was actually totally destroyed. In addition to that, the effort from the firefighters to save the home caused damage in itself. And so for one, the holes that are in the ceiling, there was a team of firefighters that were on the roof with pickaxes going ahead and ventilating the roof. And as a result, you have these holes in the ceiling here. And in addition to that, the fire department put a lot of water on this structure when they were fighting the fire. And so the wood floors throughout the house were also destroyed by water from the firefighting effort. In addition, they wanted to keep the fire from spreading to nearby homes. And so as a result of that, the fire was limited to this side of the home over here. But again, the entire house is a total loss just because of the smoke, water, firefighting efforts, and those things. And all of those things, of course, are covered by insurance, which is why the home is going to need to be rebuilt completely. Now, I'm standing in front of the reason the fire was able to spread so quickly. Once the fire got started in the kitchen area, the fire quickly went into the attic, and in the attic, you have insulation. Insulation is very, very flammable, and so what happened is once the fire was up there, it was able to quickly spread across the entire attic, filling all the rooms below with smoke, or eventually fire. And so that's one reason that the fire was able to spread so quickly. Within about 10 or 15 minutes, the fire had spread far enough to where the home was probably a total loss at that point. So here at this point, the insulation's been taken out of the home as they prepare to go ahead and demolish the home. But it sort of gives you an idea based on the fire scarring as to how destructive fire is and how quickly it spread in this particular case.